things to work on. Anyway, next up I have Evan Kingston. Evan Kingston writes fiction and runs the frozen aisle in a grocery store in St. Paul, Minnesota. His short fiction has appeared online at Revolver and Versus Literary Journal, both two of my favorites. And he recently won the first annual Man Drew's Bliss and Blog Essay Contest. I came in second. I just had to flip that in there. Last month, he self-published the 7th and final episode of his serial novel, Slash, which was named an Indie Reader Top Book Pick. He blogs on the relationship between literature and humor at The Oldest Jokes in the World, podcasts about comic book movies on Film Strip Heroes, and serves as a fiction editor at Redbird Chapbooks. Please welcome Evan.
Probably raise it. Thanks for having me. I'm jealous of everybody that's in the almanac, but I'm super excited about, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm excited to be here reading with you guys. Yeah, Jenny and I both work for Redbird Chapbooks. We just finished our open submission period, but it opens next summer, so it would definitely be really exciting to get a lot of, we get submissions from all over the country and the world, but more St. Paul people would be great, so. But I'm going to read, I was told to read something St. Paul-ish, so I'm going to read the opening to a novel I wrote that's set in St. Paul. The novel's called Half Drunk. So here we go, Chapter 1, Free View. I'm going to try to clean up some of it for children. Free View. Simon is still half asleep when he hops onto his bicycle and into the street. He's barely conscious of the reason his alarm went off earlier than it ever has before, but makes a smooth right into an alley and an easy left at the other end. Comfortable enough with St. Paul geography to find Summit Avenue's bike lane after nearly getting lost on his way out of the shower just 5 minutes earlier. As his hair dries into a lucky mess of blonde wisps, he watches the night sky, still black behind him, turning purple over downtown. Accelerating towards this dawn, he tongues his teeth for the taste of mint. He can't remember if he remembered to brush. Awake at this hour for the first time in years, all he can think of are all those long nights when the rising sun seemed like the only thing that could blur him to sleep. He tells himself he is different now, and as proof, when the sun bulges over the horizon like the pit of a halved peach, he becomes more alert to his life instead of slipping deeper into senselessness. He is celebrating today, he finally fully remembers, with an 8-hour bike route that doesn't officially begin until he reaches the opposite end of the High Bridge. This is his warm-up ride, a mostly downhill glide through the outskirts of downtown, which at dawn are crowded only by parked cars. Shadows of fruit flesh fade to bright blue morning on their westward route over his head, but Simon keeps his eyes down to watch the street lines shiver back and forth beneath his front wheel. The bridge follows a slight incline over the Mississippi River, and he exerts himself enough to actually feel awake by the time he dismounts in the two-bench sliver of a park on the opposite end's bluff. Simon always starts his recreational rides here, the best view of downtown St. Paul you can find for free. With a bike's frame resting against his hip, he has an overview of everywhere he is about to ride. He tries to squint the whole panorama in from under the shade of his palm, as some... Sorry, I've never read off of this thing before, and now it's... How do I get it back? Got it. Thanks. Let's see. He tries to squint the whole panorama in from under the shade of his palm, as some skyscrapers give off the smooth green glow of an antique Coke bottle, and others pop with cop-shade glare. On the left, the gray and gold dome of the Cathedral of St. Paul tops a leafy hill, while to the right, downtown rises in more jagged peaks. With the world waking to his eyes, cars start to grumble past Simon and onto the bridge. As they shrink into the city, he imagines himself beside them, a precious model of his bicycle scurrying between skyscrapers. If he thinks back to a... Oh my God. I'm really sorry. If he thinks back to a similar but less ambitious ride he took to commemorate his 24th birthday 2 weeks earlier, he can picture each of the streets below from the inside out. Buildings pass beside and then waver above him, and the Mississippi, its smell, sound, and calmer air, flows up the banks and through the blocks by subtle degrees. But he can, and sometimes does, imagine these rides street by street while he is alone in bed. He crosses the High Bridge so he can see it all at once and imagine himself as the magic marker on a map. Minuscule again, but large enough to be everywhere, he chugs up a hill towards the XL hockey arena, while, blocks away, another one of him coasts, hands free, down a soft decline to squirt water in his mouth. It's a fleeting satisfaction, pretending his eyes are already everywhere he is going to be, because Simon only has to look at the hills to the left of the bridge to lose the illusion that his city is an open map. Every street, and nearly all of the houses and brownstones that line them, are hidden by the trees that climb through St. Paul's residential neighborhoods. If Simon could cut through the leaves like one of the sunbeams that find those distant streets from over his shoulders, he could see all the houses ignited by this morning's light instead of in the hazy noon through which he will ride past them. If this distant vision were as good as being there, as he pretends it is, he would watch them buzzing awake instead of empty and waiting. And he might even have the luck to see Diana Sundergaard getting ready to leave for the day. Not that he'd recognize Diana. She's new to the Twin Cities, and, having moved into her older brother's skinny blue house a little over a week ago, she hasn't been much of anywhere besides a few hipster bars. But Simon would surely notice Diana as she leaves through the back door, blonde braids shining after a shower. As she takes her antique 3-speed beach cruiser from the garage, he'd wonder if she actually were somehow prettier than Bibi, the girl he assumes will always be the only girl he will ever love. He'd silently watch Diana push off into the street and imagine meeting her, falling in love, and growing old together, all without actually doing anything to stop her from riding away. Diana only makes it half a block before her feet spin off the pedals, though. She walks the bike back home and wrestles it into the screen porch to find her oldest brother smoking a cigarette on the couch. She's only half surprised, but curses anyway. "Shoot, Bert, I thought you were up in the attic." Picking the can with PBR still in it from his collection of empties on the coffee table, he asks, "How in the heck did you get up this early after all that beer last night?" She stands the bike up in front of him and pulls the chain back onto the big sprocket. "How the heck can you stay up all night after drinking all that beer?" "I felt inspired, so I sat up to write some songs." She looks around the porch. "Don't you usually need a guitar or paper to do that?" "A lesser genius than myself might." He shrugs as he drops the cigarette into one of the empty cans. "Seriously, what are you doing up so early?" "I'm going to explore for some now hiring signs," she says, and looks down at the grease on her hands. "I'll come back with a grip of applications, and you, Jeff, and Marley can tell me which ones are worth filling out." Bert always wears V-neck undershirts that are as thin and gray as a page from the sort of old book it takes a whole summer to read. As she finishes explaining her plans, she rubs the grease down his chest, and even though it is a barely noticeable addition to this week's worth of grime already there, he slaps her away. "What the heck?" "It's to ensure that you'll do laundry tonight," she says, and sits down next to him to dig through her messenger bag. "This darn chain has got me stressed, though. I don't want to apply for jobs all covered in grease." Bert looks up from his shirt, annoyed that the subject has changed from how annoyed he is. But Diana has a special smile, tongue twisted sideways between her teeth, that she uses to disarm him. "Yeah, you look awful," he says, and reaches for the pack of cigarettes, but she stops his hand with a glass pipe packed full of marijuana. "Come on, let's smoke this instead. It'll help me start my day in a better mood, and it'll help you finally get to sleep." Of course, Simon misses all this. He can't see through trees or walls or miles, just like he can't see into the future. He can't see over the hill to the side of St. Paul that borders Minneapolis, and he can't see this afternoon where and when he'll meet Diana on a bridge over the Mississippi. If he could, he'd probably stay on this hill, watching himself go nowhere. Thankfully, Simon can only see these trees and this morning, so while Diana shares a toke and some of her smile with Bert, he gapes at the city's whole blur until summer spreads fully across the empty sky, and the blaze of last night is burnt completely off the back of his brain. When he turns around, the sun is bright enough to bring tears out of his eyes, high enough over the horizon for it to officially feel like a whole new day. Monday, July 6th, and Simon Creek has been sober for 2 whole years. He cuffs his jeans with one big fold that reaches up past his knees, mounts his bike, and begins to coast down the bridge into each street and moment, one after another. Thanks.